Lastly, for this onboarding, we're going to go over mandatory training and DSP referral bonuses. Oregon administrative rules require that DSPs have 24 hours of CEUs annually. 12 hours will be DSP specific training, and 12 hours will be additional training, with at least 2 of those hours centering on diversity, equity, and inclusion. You can view the Oregon administrative rules on the state's website if you're interested in looking into those requirements further. I'd like to discuss how we're going to go about getting you the required CEUs. Ultimately, CEUs are the responsibility of the DSP, but BTS is willing to pay a set number of CEU hours, and we provide this by having you adhere to a schedule of training courses through Workday. Workday is a web-based training program through the state of Oregon. When you begin work with BTS, you are required to complete 12 hours of the DSP-specific trainings within 90 days of employment. After these initial trainings, you will have annual trainings as well, but they will be spread out over the calendar year as opposed to within 90 days. You will be receiving information on CEUs from the compliance specialist as you continue employment with BTS. Then, you technically have the remainder of the year to complete the additional 12 hours to give you 24 annual hours total. However, BTS has chosen to pay for these trainings by having you stick to a monthly schedule. There will be 12 hours of DPS-specific training, 12 hours of trainings that cover safety topics, as well as the state-required training hours on diversity, equity, and inclusion. You will be receiving Workday instructions from the compliance specialist when you begin working with a client. The instructions will walk you through the entire process of getting a Workday account created. There are detailed instructions and pictures for each step included. There will also be a timetable for completing the courses. This timetable is for when you begin employment and shows the DSP-specific training you will need within the 90 days. There will also be instructions for how to submit the CEUs. Please remember that the CEUs are worth a set number of hours. You will not clock in or out in the portal for these. You will send transcripts to the compliance specialist, and payroll will pay out the set number of hours under a specific training code. Please be sure to read through the instructions at least once before attempting to set up your account. There are several steps, and most questions you might have should be covered in the instructions. If, after thoroughly reading through the instructions, you still have questions, please contact the compliance specialist. Better Together Supports has an internal policy about completing CEUs, which your compliance specialist will provide you with during onboarding. All monthly CEUs must be turned into the compliance specialist by the last day of the month to be considered in compliance. CEUs are sent to payroll for processing on the 10th and 20th of each month. This means if you completed CEUs and submitted your transcripts before the 10th of the month, you will see those CEUs on the paycheck for the 15th of the following month. If you completed CEUs and submitted transcripts before the 20th of the month, you will see those CEUs on the paycheck for the 1st of the following month. CEUs submitted after the 20th of the month will be added to the payroll processed on the 10th. This means you will see a delay of those CEUs. We strongly encourage you to complete all CEUs early, but no later than the 20th if you want to see them on the next month's paycheck. All Tier 1 trainings in Workday must be submitted within 60 days of your start date to be in compliance. All Tier 2 trainings in Workday must be submitted within 90 days of your start date to be in compliance. Now that we've covered what standard compliance looks like, let's discuss what happens when a DSP is out of compliance with CEUs. You will be receiving a paper copy of the compliance policy during onboarding, but let's review non-compliance for trainings now. If CEUs are not submitted by the due date, you will receive a letter of non-compliance from the DSP Compliance Director in your email. You will have 3 days from the date of the letter to complete the required training. If trainings are not submitted by the third day, you will be removed from the client portal and will not be able to work with your client until you've completed those. You have 2 days from being inactivated in the portal to complete CEUs, or you will be moved to the inactive DSP list. If you fail to complete the trainings or reach out to the compliance specialist by the 5th day after receiving the non-compliance letter and the 2nd day of removal from the portal, you will be moved to the inactive DSP list. Removal to the inactive DSP list means we will begin the process of finding a new DSP for your client. Employees who receive 3 non-compliance letters within a rolling 12-month period will be placed on an employee improvement plan. Performance improvement plans will have specific guidelines employees must meet within a time frame to be removed from the PIP. PIPs usually last for 90 days. Failure to adhere to the PIP will result in an immediate employment reevaluation by HR. During onboarding, you acknowledge that you have received and understand this policy. If you have any questions about this policy, you may reach out to your compliance specialist or the DSP compliance director, Laurelyn Rabuela. We're almost done with onboarding. Great job, everyone. The last thing we will discuss in these videos is benefits.